also to name the Ron Bennett MVP? Yeah. Okay. Second?
Yeah, second. Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor? Aye. Roll call.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll have
Who's that building?
Oh.
Yeah, just took him a second.
Ron Bennett MVP and keep the name.
I'd like to call the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee meeting and Committee of the Whole. Roll call, please.
Member Gately?
Present.
Member Castellanos?
Present.
Member Capola?
Yes, present, sorry.
It came to my attention that Dr. Tutwiler, do you want to go over this? Came to our attention that we're looking for space for preschool.
Sure. As I believe all members know, the number of students who qualify for pre-K services has increased pretty steadily over the years. At present, we have about 100 students in the queue to be tested, booking us solid through mid-October of next school year. In recent years, we've benefited from the flexibility and generosity of local partners with leased space. While we continue to do so, these partnerships do not cover all of the need, and some of them have space that will not be available to us in the coming years because of renovation plans. This necessitated an approach to secure a long-term solution. On Thursday, October 21st, the members who were on school committee at the time received an email from me indicating that we were proceeding with a request for proposals for pre-K space as well as a new space for the Welcome Center, and that agreements would span 10 years. Upon closure of the request for proposals, we received 0 proposals for the new Welcome Center and 1 for pre-K space. As the city's purchasing requirements call for, myself, Mr. McHugh, and Felicia Jamerson evaluated the proposal favorably, which resulted in an award to the proposer, the owner of the 112 Market Street property on the second floor. There is a build-out process that will result in 3 classrooms, a testing area, a conference room for meeting, 18 cubbies for related service providers to do their work, a family waiting area, boys and girls restrooms appropriate for pre-K, unisex adult restroom, and a kitchenette. In your packets, there's a copy of the lease that was reviewed by Attorney Greenspan. This is a much-needed space that will provide a long-term benefit. This evening, I'm seeking the committee's approval.
Member Capola.
Okay, we're talking about Eastern Bank, and you said the second floor, and I thought the understanding was, I heard it was the third floor. Is it the third or the second floor?
I believe it is the second floor. I've been there myself, but I can double check that. It might say so in the lease, but it's not on the first floor. I can tell you that much.
Okay,
It says third floor on the
Third
lease.
floor.
it's the third floor.
My mistake.
Okay. Because I did read the lease, and I know we desperately need space, but my understanding is it's only three classrooms. And what were the other things that you were saying?
A testing area, a place for them to do testing with the students, a conference room to hold meetings, IEP meetings with families. What I said, 18 cubby spaces, or cubicles essentially. A family waiting area, so if their child's being tested, there's a space for families to wait, and then restrooms,
Okay.
and a kitchenette
Okay.
for staff.
My concern is that we're talking about 3- and 4-year-old children on the 3rd floor. And I know that building because I have had partnership with the people on the 2nd floor. The elevator is small. And, you know, in an emergency or fire alarms go off, asking 3- and 4-year-old kids that are on ed plans, which at this time we don't know what that would be for, but to come down 3 flights of stairs to come out of the building. The other thing I had a concern about is that they give us no parking. The lease states that parking would be on the street. And that's one thing that the teachers mentioned a number of times in the survey, was how they're not supplied with parking, you know, or at different schools, and they've had their cars hit and whatever else. But that area doesn't have much parking, so I didn't know if you had another, was there something set up? I know it's not in this lease, but what would that be?
So typically, there is parking that happens across the street in the shopping plaza parking lot. It's our understanding that that is permissible. With respect to the floor, keep in mind that this committee supported a lease agreement with the YMCA that was also not on the 1st floor for pre-K classes. In addition to the elevator, there are 2 stairwells. The owner of the property is committed to ensuring, as the RFP called for, that everything is up to code. When we first went to visit the site, we did bring a representative from ISD along with us to just sort of lay eyes on the property and the space. And you know, there was no concern expressed related to safety there during that visit. So we feel comfortable and confident. Safety is our foremost priority, that this space meets that. The situation around parking, I think, is accommodated by that across the street.
Okay, and it's approximately 5,000 square feet, and at 92,500 a year, we're talking like 1,850 for square footage for a rental, which in this area is a little high, but I understand we're not able to find anything else, but I still have concern. I mean, I would move it up to the full committee, but I personally wouldn't vote for it. I don't think that 3- and 4-year-olds should be on the 3rd floor of a building. That's just my preference.
Just quickly in response to the cost, I'm not sure what the comparable is that you're drawing that conclusion, but in this real estate market, it's our understanding that that's fairly reasonably priced.
Okay. I only Googled it today for Lynn, commercial properties. And there was a variation from the lowest was $9.36 square foot, and the up to one that was $16 square foot. So it's the only reason I'm
Who
saying
knows where
that.
those are? I mean, there's lots of
Space is important
factors.
to us, I understand that.
Right, there are a lot of factors that go
My
into it.
more worry is putting
Understood.
them on the 3rd floor.
Understood.
Lorraine? Member Gately. Sorry.
I went there today, Dr. Tutwiler. So, when I went in, I got on the elevator, and it is small, the elevator, but I could not find the 2 exits. Like,
I'm sorry?
I couldn't find the stairways. I didn't know where they were. I went all the way up to the 3rd floor. I went in, I took a look around because I couldn't get in to the rooms, and I couldn't find the exit. So that's what scares me, is I didn't see the exits. So there's 2 exits for sure,
2 stairwells.
2 stairwells. Right. Okay, that was my major concern, was I just saw the elevator, and I couldn't imagine in a fire situation or a fire alarm practice, a bunch of 4-year-olds running into an elevator, if the elevator's not working, would be in deep trouble, but two
Well, you
stairwells.
wouldn't use the elevator in a fire.
Right, but I was like, how, I couldn't, I took the time to go look, and I did not see them, didn't see what I wanted, so I wasn't really gonna recommend it. I was gonna table it till I found out more information, or I could see more. We have Mr. Donovan here. Are you aware, are you familiar with this property? I'm sorry to bother you.
It's not a bother at all.
Okay.
I have not been on the second and third floors of this property. I've been inside the first floor 30, 40 years. Representative from ISD who went there, worked formerly as a building inspector, and he's trained to look at the safety features, and if he was okay with what he saw for means of egress and everything, he would have told me otherwise if he didn't agree. There is two stairwells there, one on either side, one on the street. So the safety, I don't think the safety I'm sorry. I think the safety considerations would be the same as that you'd find in any other public school with the child having to leave the second or third floor of any age, that they could get out safely.
Okay. That's basically, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Member Castellanos.
So I appreciate my colleagues' perspectives and Dr. Tutwiler for the work everyone's done on this. And pre-K is a high need for pre-K, and the use of space. If we move forward with this, could you just kind of talk about what that actually looks like if it doesn't work out? Like, is this something that in terms of just planning and implementation, could you kind of talk me through that a little bit, like what that looks like? Just because as we're talking about some of these safety concerns, and just would like to see, could you discuss the benefits?
It's almost hard to sort of formulate the words because the need is extreme. Since I've been here, going back 7 years, when someone else sat in this seat, they would often talk about the space crunch that we're experiencing, both at either end of the educational experience, right? With our earliest learners in pre-K and then on the secondary level. Each year, there's not a year that's gone by since I've been superintendent where the director of special education hasn't come to me and said, we need to open another pre-K classroom and we have no space. And so there are classes scheduled into this space for next year too. And based on what I shared in the outset of this, there's 100 students who are in the queue for evaluations. I'm going to hazard a guess that some of them are going to qualify for services. There's that additional room. We have become realtors, essentially. The other hat we wear involves looking for space around the city, trying to make partnerships, because that's where we are. We can't expand in the schools really any further for this service.
I just want to echo. I understand the need, and I do actually. I do support this proposal.
Member Magnolia.
I just had a question about, you said you put out two to bid. One was just for classroom space and the other was for office. Now, this only provides 3 classrooms, but will there be another process to see if more classroom space can be secured at a later date? And if so, when do you anticipate that?
Yeah. So the other thing that's in the queue, which Member Gately knows about, is a small pre-K establishment on Commercial Street that currently belongs to Leo. The city solicitor executed a right of first refusal to purchase that building when they move out, and they're having a new space built. The hope is that at the end of the year, that will be available for us to execute that, which would provide, I think there's 5 classrooms in there. And so that would be helpful for us down the line also.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ocean, anything?
I make a motion to support Dr. Tutwiler's proposal on this lease agreement.
I second it.
You're not on the
sorry,
subcommittee,
committee.
but, and just a friendly amendment that we move it to the full committee.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, second it.
So moved. Roll call?
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call?
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
You didn't pinch me, Mike.
The open mic session is designed to provide an opportunity for citizens to express their views on matters of concern to the school committee. The sessions are not designed to encourage debate or lengthy exchange of views, but are to have the committee understand numerous points of view. The committee would appreciate speakers keeping their presentation to 3 minutes in order to accommodate as many people as time permits. The chair reserves the right to limit the number of speakers on the same topic to 3. All speakers must be at least 18 years of age or enrolled in high school in Lynn Public Schools District and having discussed their views with a student government representative. The chair reserves the right to rule the speaker out of order if he or she feels that the speaker's comments are personal in nature. If a speaker's comments are directed at a school committee member or a member of school administration in attendance, that member, through the chair, may address the individual. The sessions will promptly commence 15 minutes prior to the start of the regular school committee meeting. Is anyone signed up there? No? Anyone to speak at open mic? Anyone looking to speak at open mic? Looking to speak at open mic? We'll close open mic. Thank you.
Do you have to say? Do you have to say?
I know.
He's doing all right.
Have it. I already had it.
I like Roy. He's there for a long time.
Frank Capone.
I'd like to call to order the 10th regular meeting of the school committee. Roll call, please.
Member Castellano?
Present.
Member Capola?
Present.
Member Dugan?
Present.
Member Gately?
Present.
Member Magnolia?
Present.
Member Pena?
Present.
Mayor Nicholson?
Present. Could all please rise for a salute to the flag and remain standing for a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing for a moment of silence. Memorial Marilyn White, paraprofessional, Ingalls, May 5th, 2022. Michael Bubba Ramsey, former English high student, May 2022. Yahaira Suarez, former English high student, May 2022. Also like to recognize the victims of the mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas. Thank you. First item on the agenda are minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the following minutes. The Athletics Subcommittee meeting on May 9th, 2022, Curriculum Subcommittee meeting on May 9th, 2022, Personnel Subcommittee meeting on May 9th, 2022, and fourth special meeting on May 9th, 2022.
Any seconds?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next item, we have some elections. Dr. Tutwiler?
Yep, we are seeking the committee's support for 2 nurse elections. The first for Emily Grow. This is to begin next year. In your packets, you'll find letters describing the qualifications of both. Again, I want to shout out the director and assistant director of nursing who've really been working hard to fill positions. But again, seeking your support for the election of Emily Grow.
Make a motion to put forth the name of Emily Grow.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Emily Grow.
Member Capola?
Emily Grow.
Member Dugan?
Emily Grow.
Member Gately?
Emily Grow.
Member Magnolia?
Emily Grow.
Member Pena?
Emily Grow.
Mayor Nicholson?
Emily Grow.
Congratulations to Emily. And the other is Esther, and I apologize if I mispronounced the name, Malwini. Seeking an election for her in the role of nurse for the 22-23 school year.
Make a motion to put forth Esther Mawini.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Esther Mowini.
Member Capola?
Esther Mawini.
Member Dugan?
Esther Mawini.
Member Gately?
Esther Marini.
Member Magnolia?
Esther Mawini?
Member Pena?
Esther Mawini.
Mayor Nicholson?
Esther Mawini. Next item are the presentations, and I believe we're tabling this first one.
Yep. And Mr. Mayor, if you would consider taking
Yeah.
that item out of order.
So if we can get a motion to amend the agenda to move under new business item D, discussion of elementary school facilities, up as the next agenda item.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So the discussion of elementary school facilities, we're asking Mr. Donovan to please join. The committee is well aware that our building and space challenges are one of our top priorities as a school district, as a city, and we are moving full speed ahead towards a new middle school, the new Pickering, and we want to be proactive about what comes next after that. And I think we recognize that there's a lot of need at the elementary level. And so we are working on evaluating that need in greater detail so that we can be ready to move when we have the resources, when the timing lines up, to really tackle what is such an important issue for the Lynn Public Schools. And so I've asked Mr. Donovan to share an update on that effort.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody. So in 1994, the city went out and did a similar study of the future needs for facilities done by George Collins, where they looked at the secondary school buildings and the needs of the secondary schools. And from that, the new classical high school was built, the LBTI annex was acquired, and the renovations at English was done. In 2007, a similar study was done by Strategic Building Solutions, where a conditions assessment of all the elementary schools was done, middle schools. And a plan for middle schools was set, Thurgood Marshall was built, and Pickering School was recommended to be replaced. We are now in the process of the Pickering School. At this point, we need to relook at the elementary schools, which were last looked at back in the 80s, which led to the renovations of 6 schools, I believe it is, in 1992. So the city's put out an RFQ to ask firms to give us proposals to do an elementary school master plan. Over the last 2 years, we've done conditions assessments in all of the schools and all of the city buildings. So we've gone through the buildings, the professional engineers and architects have gone through, looked at the buildings, determined the needs, the physical needs of the buildings, based upon the age and condition of the equipment, the site, the building envelope. So we know what's wrong with the physical condition of the buildings, and we know what the costs are to remedy those physical conditions of those buildings. So this plan will use the recently received MSBA enrollment figures from the Pickering School, which gave enrollment projections for the Lynn Public School systems out a number of years. The applicant succeeds will use the Aviva Associates Facilities Conditions Assessment to know the physical needs of the school. And using some of the past planning guides that have been used in '94 and '07, we know the physical layouts of the schools. They'll have to go through and confirm what those uses are today. This firm will develop the space requirements of the school district by school and the district as a whole. So they'll be interviewing principals, staff, administration, finding out what the space needs are per school based on the school's programs, develop the cost to either renovate, add, or construct new space for the needs. And when I say the needs, for instance, they might look at school XYZ and say, it has this many classrooms, it needs 2 more classrooms, it needs a library, it needs a cafeteria. And based on the MSBA guidelines of what an elementary school would have, they're gonna compare that to what the school has now. Look at it, develop it, use the square footage cost that we're seeing coming back on schools being constructed across the Commonwealth to say, okay, if we were to do something for school XYZ, this is what it would be and this is what it would cost. As part of this process, they'll be looking at the entire school, elementary school system to say, okay, we've done this for Able and Brickett and everything, but now, is this what we would really want? Would it be better to combine schools or just tear down one and build a new one? So there'll be a series of meetings, public forums, where people can come together and the facts can be presented about what the conditions are, what the needs are, and what the estimated cost would be to put this package together. A steering committee would be established to guide this process to the public forum and then back to the school committee what they plan. The plan will be a 10-year master plan over what renovations could be done, what additions may be done, and what any new replacements may be. And the intent of this is just not to present a plan that we're going to put on the shelf and say, yes, we did this, and now we know this. It's just that looking long-term with the city, we know that upon the completion of the Pickering School, our middle school and high school needs, while we're in a temporary bump right now with space, I understand, at the high school, those are pretty much set in stone with what we have. The facilities are, I'm going to say new because they were built 20 to 30 years ago, or renovated 20 to 30 years ago, but they're new compared to the elementary schools, where some of them were built in the 1890s. So this will give a guideline for the city to know what to do next when it comes time to go to the MSBA and say, this is our plan. This is what we want to do, because you could poll everybody in the room and say, get 18 different answers on, replace this one, and we do 2 renovations. So this will be a guide to the city, a lot of public input into the plan, as well as a lot of facts regarding the buildings themselves. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Member Castellanos.
Thank you so much, Mr. Donovan, for your presentation and giving us an update. Do we have a cost average for this analysis? How much we're looking to put out?
It's $200,000.
Okay. And what would be the timeline that you would?
The RFP requires that selected vendors start 2 weeks after the signing of the contracts and complete this within 9 months. So I'm assuming that the responses came in today. There were 3 responses. An evaluation committee will be composed to evaluate and select a vendor. It takes about 2 weeks to get contracts signed. So looking at that schedule for July 1, there should be a kickoff, which is good because it allows the vendors to get into the buildings and tour the buildings and see the buildings. And then in September, they can, after they have a sense for the buildings, they can talk to the staff and the principals and whoever else needs to be part of this. but they'll have a good chance to actually see the buildings without any restraints or
Yeah.
hindrance on their ability to go places. So, given 9 months, this plan should be completed for March of 2023. It could go quicker because it'll depend upon the public debate and the public meetings and where things go from there. But 9 months is the vendor's requirement to have this plan complete.
And the goal is to have a 10-year master plan with the steering committee, and also just, you said to host multiple outreach opportunities with public forums. The evaluation team that you have together, is that the Buildings and Ground Committee, the superintendent? Who are the folks vetting the process?
So the evaluation committee for the vendors, the selected vendor, has not yet been selected. Design selection is run through my office. My predecessor and the predecessor before him has always been the building commissioner who picks designers. But it's my envisioning that, and I will be conferring with the superintendent and the mayor, so I'm not going to say anything right now, but it'll be weighted towards, obviously, the school people. There'll be somebody from my office on there just because we're just dealing with the designer. And from that, I'm open to anybody. But it will be school weighted.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Stunner.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's just really important for us to highlight that we all recognize that facilities is one of the top issues in the public schools, and if we're going to make up what is a really long-term problem, we have to be able to address the acute needs that we have, that we're working on addressing with the Pickering, that we're working on addressing the acute needs that we have at the high school level. We have to be able to address the acute needs while also planning for the long-range needs at the same time. And that kind of planning is also going to, I think, help in our efforts to that are going to require all of us working together: educators, school community members, the community, to bring the resources to bear to implement those long-range plans. And I think, we're in a much better position than sitting around waiting for the resources than to come up with our own plan about how we're going to get there, how we're going to fix this problem. And that is the goal of this effort. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is update on student inclusivity panels.
This guy's gonna make me cry.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Forget it's always touching that. Like, wow. So easy to wow.
I'm a gesturer, and every now and then I'll whack my board, and then it'll just change. I'm like, ah.
Oh, no.
I didn't mean to do that.
Passion.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So my name's Lisa Escalera. I'm one of the lead inclusivity panel mentors. So thank you so much for having us tonight. We're really excited of the work that we've done in the last 2 years, and we are going to talk really briefly and then give the students the floor. So here's sort of a summary of some of the work we've done. I guess we probably should have put 2020 to 2022. Where am I going? To the computer. Okay, perfect. So in June 2020, in the wake of the George Floyd murder, the school committee passed a resolution that says, let it be further resolved that each secondary school of the Lynn Public Schools organized panels during the 2020-2021 school year, consisting of a diverse group of students, faculty, parents, and alumni, which we called inclusivity panels. And that such inclusivity panels be dedicated to engaging in topics surrounding implicit biases, recognizing privilege, and the role that cultural identity plays in both America and our educational systems. So here is just sort of a very, very small sample of some of the students who have stepped up. The basis for the inclusivity panels is YPAR, which is Youth Participatory Action Research. YPAR is an approach to scientific inquiry and social change grounded in principles of equity that engages young people in identifying problems relevant to their own lives, conducting research to understand the problems, and advocating for changes based on research evidence.
Hello, my name is Samira Gilly. I'm one of the lead mentors as well. I'm going to be talking about developmental relationships. It's one of them express care, challenge growth, provide support, share power, and expand possibilities. We think at the inclusivity panel that it is important to give our students a voice, to show them that they matter, and we're there for them, to support them, and eventually give them the opportunities, have them meet people, and whatever opportunities come, expose them to new opportunities. Right. And then.
Good evening. My name is Alan Bursey. I'm one of the mentors at Fecht O'Leary. I'm happy to be here with everybody. So the cycle of engagement is what we do with the students when the school year starts, and all the new inclusivity students that want to be a part of it. We start by learning sessions. The mentors and students, we prepare for the next cycle of engagement. The next step is regular school-wide meetings where students and mentors meet to regularly build relationships, conduct research analysis, and data. We've been doing this via Zoom, and we're talking about, we're looking forward to actually doing this together as an entire group. It'll be impressive if we can get that done next school year. So the next part is the inclusive panels. This is what we do via Zoom, where the students present their research questions and research methodology, I can't get that word, and data collection. Thank you. The next part is district-wide gatherings. Students share work that was complete and prepare for the next learning session. So this is what we do. We have been doing the past 2 years with the students. And last week we presented together all the work that the students did, and they all really, really shined. Very proud of them. I think the city is very proud of them. I think you're next. Oh, you're last? Okay.
I'm Kayla. I'm a student at LBTI. Read from here. Well, through student voices and multiple gatherings, we've learned that there is a lack of cultural and social awareness and diversity in staff positions. Many students feel unrepresented, not understood, and unsupported. The lack of education and discipline leads to issues in our schools such as homophobia, transphobia, racism, sexism, and body shaming. Why this is important to you. Schools should be a safe place for kids of all ethnicities, religion, race, sexuality, and identity. Growing up, many of us were taught to be ashamed of who we were, but today we've learned to embrace our differences. No student deserves to be mistreated, harassed, or disrespected. How change in our school could look like. Teachers and students can benefit from educational programs for staff to learn cultural/social awareness. This way, they can better educate and support students. The cultural and social education can then be incorporated in classrooms. Diversity in staff so students can feel better represented and understood. Like Tupac said, I'm a reflection of my community.
Yes.
Love it.
Hello, my name is Genesis. It's an honor to be here with you guys today. What I've learned from my experience is a lot of issues that were not noticed or recognized during the pandemic and even before. We noticed that they were crucial for research. We needed those problems to be stood up into light, especially what happened during these hard times. The relationships, we also noticed the relationships between students are much stronger now than before they were, because we need that communication between students and teachers and adults and kids. We also noticed a difference between the perspectives of students and teachers. We were very impacted with each sentence and making decisions. We realized how important it was for students to have a voice in our school and for themselves to speak out against themselves and step up for each other and themselves in any situation. It was very important for me. I wanted to make sure that people were getting that feeling of comfort after having racism really stand out as an issue during the lockdown. I wanted us to feel safe coming back to school, to learn, and to socialize, especially after the pandemic and having kids both. I wanted us to be in a place where we can show that we respect each other and show adults that young people have opinions and want to be there for each other. I saw a lot of young adults' opinions were turned away, and I wanted that to change. I wanted us to demonstrate what we have to give and show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Samira. What I learned being on the inclusivity team this year is that I learned no matter what you could be going through, you're never alone. Everyone on the team has struggled with similar challenges they've had to overcome. As a team, we've given the support we needed to our fellow students. I've learned even a smile can make someone's whole day just a little bit better. The reason why it was important to me, and why it is important to me, is because the inclusivity team was one of the biggest, the inclusivity team is important to me for many reasons. The biggest one has to be the fact that what we do comes from our hearts. The team is full of kids my age with great hearts and genuine personalities. I didn't have the best experience with friends in the past, but this team has given me the opportunity to change that. What this means for our school. Being in a rather toxic city, meaning not everyone is kind, I think the inclusivity team could be an amazing addition to our school support system. Middle school is where your mind is really changing and big transitions are being made, whether you're coming from elementary or going to high school. During this time, all we really need is a friend. The inclusivity team offers this for all students at Reed Middle School, which is an extremely exciting change to our atmosphere.
I just want to note before you ask questions, I've been able to be part of these teams right from the start. I watched many of these students on a screen, either with a black screen with their name, or very big artwork, or just the eyes, or just the forehead, or sometimes the ceiling. And I have watched many of them stand up straight, shoulders back, confident. Some of them have grown in so many ways. Many of them have, and they have so much to offer our district. So I commend this group. This is a small sampling. If you went to the Inclusivity Summit, you got to see many of our panels and their presentations. It was amazing. So now, any questions you might have?
Member Pena, Castellanos, and Member Dugan.
First of all, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And as many of you know, I'm familiar with the inclusivity panel, and it's dear to me. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna get a little emotional, but I really appreciate, being able to have student input, and it's very, very important. COVID exposed a lot of inequities in our school system, and it brings me joy to hear your input, and it's very important. It's key to hear your voice, just to see that, and to acknowledge the majority of our students is very important, to be inclusive and be able to express who you are, and this just shows the lack of diversity that our staff has, and we really need to make some changes, like Tupac said, we need to make some changes, Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Pena. Member Castellanos.
So, first of all, thank you for being here today. this presentation really hit me again in the heartstrings. Like, I don't know, I went to those inclusivity panel presentations, the summit, and I just was left just so inspired. 5 years ago when I decided to run for office, was the reason. It was for students. You know, Frank Warren, he's a philosopher. He tells this quote: "It's the children the world almost breaks who grow up to save it." Your voices getting to the table. I have an obligation to activate youth and student voice to make my decisions and to impact policy. I always hear the term, you guys are future leaders. I don't agree. I think you're leaders now. You should be very proud of yourselves. When you see students saying, "I've learned even a smile could make someone's whole day just a little bit better," you have no idea. I'm a first-generation low-income kid, public housing. I started off with nothing. And to see you guys here today, you have to be that much greater, guys. It is so bad out there. It is so bad, and we need you. You're not just Lynn kids. You are our future now. You should be very proud of yourself. And it's been an honor to watch this, to watch it come to fruition. And I remember in that Zoom cube when I first saw this, I think I cried at that point too, and I felt the same way, and it's just remarkable. Thank you to the mentors and the staff, Lynn Public School staff, one of the best in the state and the country, if not. We can argue that all day, so thank you. I know Principal Molly is not here tonight, and I want to thank her as well, because she kept us all up to date on what's going on in the caring community. Those folks, they did show up at the summit, and everyone involved. So I'll stop talking. Thank you. Appreciate you.
We're doing.
Okay, well, thank you. Member Castellanos is always a tough act to follow, but I will do my best. I've been saying this since the campaign last, so it's a tough, but I will do my best. So thank you to the staff and the teachers and for just being great mentors for these children. I think this is a great opportunity for them to use their voices and for them to really shine and just show that it's more than just, 2 times 3 equals 6 in our schools. It's learning how to be good to each other. It's learning, someone mentioned kindness. Member Magnolia and I were talking on the break about the importance of kindness and just, we got to do that every day. And it sounds like you guys are doing a great job with that. I know lots of adults that could learn from you guys. So keep up the good work. And we're keeping these seats warm for you guys. You guys are the leaders. So hope to see you here someday.
Member Gately.
I went to the inclusivity event, summit, last week. I was very impressed. I had also just got my flu shot at noon, so I ran in and I went to as many as I could get to, and I think I got to all of you. I think I might have missed one, and I just got wiped out and had a headache, so I had to take off. But I was so impressed with all that you researched, you studied, and I love that a smile can make someone's day. But a while back when I was a teacher, it was acts of kindness we used to do in our schools. And some of my high school students are like, what are you talking about? Just hold the door for the person behind you and let them walk through. And it would mean so much, and it does mean so much. And I'm so happy that you are learning this still, and we're going to move forward, and you're going to be great leaders. Mm-hmm. And you are great leaders. Thank you very much.
Member Magnolia.
So I have to speak as the college professor here to say, don't forget about this experience when you are writing your essays, okay? One of the things I do is I work with some of the Levitas students, and one of the things that's really easy to overlook is that Lynn has the greatest diversity you can possibly imagine, and that is a strength, right? anyone can master the material. Almost no one can say they know what it's like to go to a high school with 15 different languages, every race on earth, people's gender expression, running the gamut, and get along well and work with those people. And so I think the real power of these inclusivity panels is that it's showing you that you know so much more than you even realize. You have skills, right? You don't just code switch 1 or 2 or 3 ways. You could probably code switch exponentially, to use a mathematics term here. As the English professor, I like to throw in things like that for fun. But I really think that this is a strength that you all are highlighting that is essential for the future of the United States as a wonderfully diverse country, and just sing it from the rooftops, because it is, if you got a perfect, SAT score, you would be proud of that. And to me, this is Lynn's perfect SAT score, is your diversity.
Member Capola.
I'm proud of all of you for what you've done. I know Miss Gately went and got a shot that day, but I had a COVID scare. I minded a couple of my grandkids, and about 2 hours or 3 hours before I was ready to go to your event, somebody called, my daughter called to let me know that her kids had COVID. So I think the important thing, too, is middle school is a very difficult time. My kids would say that all the time. You're in elementary, and it's very comforting, and then you go into middle school, and it was really difficult. But I think the skills you're learning, when you leave for high school, you're going to be so prepared and be able to socialize and join clubs and join in on, not be afraid to join in sports things and everything. You're going to be so ahead of so many of other kids that leave middle school onto high school. So I'm proud of all of you. Did a great job presenting too, so congratulations. Yeah.
I just want to say briefly, also echo how proud I am, and build on what Member Capola said. The skills that you're learning, incredible as you transition from middle school to high school, from high school to college, and beyond. And really, the very first slide talked about the school committee's adoption of the resolution, which we are so incredibly heartened by that support. But I want you all to remember that it was brought to the school committee by a group of students. And their agency, their resolve, their commitment has led to something that has impacted the entire district, probably now for forever. So keep that message, keep that reality in your mind as well, that you can be a change agent, and you are change agents right now. Carry that forward with your next steps. So incredibly proud of you all.
Thank you all so much for the presentation, so much for all your amazing work. I think I totally agree with all my colleagues and what Dr. Telweiler said. It was a tremendous idea to bring the inclusivity panels forward that those students had, and we were honored that they worked with us to come up with that concept, and they brought that to us. It is just so inspiring to see you all step up and make that idea into something so incredible and amazing. It inspires me, and really I think you've inspired everyone in this room. You've inspired everyone that was there the other night at the Inclusivity Summit. You're tackling some of the most important and challenging issues that we face in the world, and you've stepped right up to the plate, and I really commend each of you, the mentors, for being there for these students to support them. Congratulations. Thank you.
I'd like to end with a little video. Thank you to Newbie Rateau from LDTI, who filmed some snippets from that evening. And I'd like to show.
Want to sit down? Sit down.
Lights? inclusivity is actually one of our 5 core values in the district, and that has to do with how we think about creating a sense of belonging among all of our students and our families in partnership with our staff.
The key was if we learn more about each other, we would be more kinder to each other. If I knew more about your culture and all the cultures that represent in our city, we would be kinder to each other. So I think the students are trying to expose everybody to different cultures and ethnicities and what we do.
I think one of the really powerful pieces of feedback that we had in our session was around a interest from students in having an opportunity to develop more meaningful relationships with the adults in the building and wanting to see more tools for the educators in the building to think about how to best reach students on the social emotional level.
The reason I'm here today is because I'm inspired to change people, and I'm here to be a leader. That way, people who come before me or people who come after me have something to look towards.
We learned a lot from the people who we were trying to educate, and we also learned a lot from just hearing ourselves and getting the courage to stand up there and speak on something that we were so passionate about, that we studied so much. I think that it was an amazing experience, and I think that the insight that everyone shared was powerful.
What is it that they felt like they needed in their school environment so that way they can belong, they can feel like they were respected, and they were able to read and review those student responses and even give their presentation talking about the kinds of things that their school needed in order to increase the sense of belonging inside the schools. And for me, just hearing students stand up with that confidence, with that courage, being able to communicate to adults that maybe they don't even know or not from Lynn, and being able to describe the kinds of things that their school can do to make improvements was exciting.
It's very important because my daughter Rachel is one of the members, and I know how she, taking the event so good and so eager to go every time. Like, Mom, I have to go in places, I have to go. So I support her, and I know how important it is for her. She learned a lot. She will come back home being excited and like, my mom, this is what I learned today. So I really appreciate them.
It's particularly important in a district like ours that is diverse and people have backgrounds from all over the world and a really wide range of life experiences, and for us to have the tools to recognize that, to celebrate that, and to meet our students' needs as individuals and as humans.
Very well done.
Very, very good.
Props to you. I would be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to the Equity Imperative. Matthew Rodriguez was one of the people who were interviewed. His wife, Judy Rodriguez, who we all love dearly and has been directly involved with the inclusivity panels, have been integral in this work. In your packet, there is a document. Do you mind if I borrow this? This document here, it gives you every school what they were working on, data, and what their action steps are. So it gives you kind of a snapshot of the work that they did. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And thank you.
Yes,
Because we're giving.
Thank you so much.
We've had a lot of support from Mr. Bureau, so thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Come again.
Wait, the certificates, we're not going to give them?
They're not here.
All right, that was amazing. Next time on the agenda is update on After Dark programs.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, hey, Gardner.
Try to keep this brief and informative.
So an update on After Dark. The program is currently running 2 shops, health assisting and precision machining. Students are gaining hands-on experience in these shops, and aside from COVID-related absences, there has been consistent and full attendance. The students' experience is that they start later in the day in their home schools and get picked up on a bus to go to their shops at LVTI. At LVTI, their experience is 80% hands-on learning and 20% theory learning, which is a little bit more of your traditional knowledge building through print and online curriculum that's housed in Schoology. Toward the end of the evening, they are served dinner, and then they travel back to their home school on buses. To give you a window into these shops, I'll describe what you might see on a typical afternoon. I'll start with Precision Machining Shop. First, all students are OSHA 10 certified through this program. This simply means that they have done 10 hours and are certified and trained to learn to be safe in their particular shop. In precision machining, it's important for students to safely operate the machines and wear the proper safety gear. Students wear work boots, long pants, shirts, goggles, and when necessary, tie back their hair. Under close teacher guidance, they work in our newly refurbished state-of-the-art machine shop, including using lathes and mills to fabricate parts. So in addition to their OSHA 10 training, they are working on MACWIC certification, which is an industry-recognized credential. In the health assisting shop, students are also OSHA 10 certified, but their 10 hours relate to safety in healthcare settings, learning about how to protect themselves from infections, bloodborne pathogens, and bodily fluids. In the health assisting shop, students practice some hands-on skills as well. They work on infection control, washing, making sure everything is clean and sterile. They work with adult and infant mannequins and learning adult and infant patient care. They learn how to guide patients in and out of hospital beds and wheelchairs. They learn how to do gait training to help patients with mobility. And they also practice some skills on each other, such as taking vital signs. Our own Deputy Ruggiero was a volunteer patient one afternoon at the program. In addition to OSHA certification, these students have also become CPR and first aid certified this year, and they are working towards CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant certification. In summary for the 2 shops, I hope you have a picture of what's happening there and what students are accomplishing in terms of their skill building and certification. The goals of this program are for students to be able to gain actual certifications and employability in high demand, high wage, high skilled jobs, and that is happening. If I could provide a little praise to our 2 directors, Johanna Smith and Brian O'Connell, who helped me with this update, as well as the teachers and support staff in place for this program. They were just leaving their jobs of their extra shift at the end of the day before we began this meeting, and they're doing incredible work. I have 2 more updates. One is on some new grant funding the state just provided, and the other is for recruiting for this year. So the state has been very generous to the After Dark program and has provided support for career and technical education, and they were able to direct to us this past week $90,000 to use for these 2 shops. So with these funds, we'll be able to purchase shop uniforms, a brand new lathe to expand our precision machining capacity, new hospital beds and nightstands for health assisting, and 2 new animatronic mannequins. These mannequins are designed to teach students how to interact with patients. They understand and speak in Spanish, French, and English. The teacher can set their vital signs in different ways so students can learn. For instance, they can set them to have an irregular heartbeat, and students can listen for and learn how that sounds. The animatronics also can converse with the students. They understand what they say. They have a camera in the eyes so that the teacher can be at a computer console seeing how more than one student is interacting with an animatronic patient. When they greet the animatronic, the patient talks back to them. The variety of language makes them accessible to students who speak Spanish and French, and
English, and for those who don't speak those languages, the possibility is there for students to learn to greet and interact with other patients speaking other languages. We're excited about that and thought you would like to hear that. The last update is on recruiting, and that is that information is going out tonight to all guidance counselors, and a live application will be available from tomorrow until the end of the year. And we're looking to recruit 36 students total, 18 in each shop from all of our high schools. I hope that update helps, and if I could answer any questions.
Quick question. How many students are enrolled in the program right now?
There's 16 in the program right now, so we're hoping to more than double that next year.
Thank you so much for the update, and everyone that's been working on this, and to double capacity is, it's just, you could hear the fact that, you know, those two skills that our students are really going out and learning, there's a high demand, and there's pipelines for that, and it's just to hear the technology that's going to be, you know, provided to our students is just remarkable. Especially when you started describing, I couldn't help but be just, and I didn't even know that existed, because we walked by the dummies in the back, so I thought that's what we were using. So to hear that you have like an actual like that's impressive, honestly.
Well, we will. It is really cool.
What's the timeline for that cohort to start?
In September.
Could I go and see this?
Yes.
I would love to be to see this,
Yes.
like the
and
tour.
And those two directors said to let you know that they would be happy to arrange a tour.
I would love to do
Yeah.
that. That sounds like. Sorry, I get excited with any new program. I just whatever. Thank you,
Sure.
Always being so great.
Another one. I like to be a patient.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the update. Member Gately, yep.
I'd like to sign up on the tour too.
Absolutely.
And I'm very happy that we've doubled the number.
Yes. Yep.
I was at I think it's called the Two Worlds, isn't it? Two Worlds?
Living in Two Worlds.
Living in Two
Yep.
Worlds program, and I was
Yes.
very impressed when this young lady was coming into school, finished up her coursework, and then was leaving to go down to Lynn Tech to learn this trade for the healthcare. And
Yeah.
I just was very happy to see that, because our students coming into this district from other worlds are using this and are benefiting from it. So I'm
Yes.
glad that it's moving on and getting larger. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. I know this has been an effort over a few years, and the whole team at Lynn Tech has done a great job at putting this together. So thank you to you and your team for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the budget. Shall I?
Yeah, as promised in our initial meeting where the budget was presented, the 3 meetings thereafter, we would hold space for any additional questions that the committee had, and we're happy to respond.
Member Gately.
I still have questions, but I'm gonna hold them off till another time, because I know that I was out late last night, and a lot of administrators were out late last night, and that's how I feel about it. So I'm just gonna, I want you to know that I do have questions. I will be getting back to them, but I'm going to postpone them for now.
Mr. Mayor, I'll just briefly respond. You'll have another opportunity on the 9th. And in the interim, as questions arise, if you would share them with Mary, we can make sure that the answer is robust, either directly back to you or back in this space. So you have another opportunity.
Yep, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda are field trip request, Skills USA to National Leadership and Skills Conference, June 20th to June 25th, Atlanta, Georgia. What's the recommendation of the superintendent?
Recommendation is enthusiastic in nature to support the Skills USA trip to the National Leadership Conference this year. I believe is a record for the number of students who qualified. The number's 23. They, as you know, they do us proud when they go to this event. So seeking the school committee's support for that trip.
Member Castellanos.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to the Skills USA team, and I got to check in with Mr. McCush at the LVTI Hall of Fame dinner, and the work that's being done over there every year, they make us so proud, and you know, it's remarkable to see them really stand out nationally. That's what folks are. It's nationally that they're competing and winning. So. Similar to the Lynn English Bulldogs ROTC. Let me just shout out there. Lynn Tech has definitely grown a tremendous program, and I'm just very proud of them, and I would make a motion to support that.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes, shout out to them too.
Member Magnolia? Yes. Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next item is the school calendar.
Yes, so on April 7th, I presented to you a school calendar for the 22-23 school year and recommended a motion to approve the calendar pending ratification. As we know that ratification did not happen. So what's in your packets now is a slightly altered calendar for next year that aligns with the last existing agreement of the LTU. It's you got to dig for it, but it is in there. There it is. You're there, Lenny.
There it is,
Member
yeah.
Pena, sorry. It's the very colorful document. This still calls for the first day of school to begin the Wednesday after Labor Day. There was a shift with professional development days. There will be one on the 6th, the day before the first day of school. We are still proposing 2 days prior to Labor Day for professional development. And then there's an additional two actually, one on Election Day in November and another right after New Year's, seeking the committee's support for this calendar for next year.
Member Castellanos, Member Pena.
Did we address the discrepancies initially that we went through, or it didn't go through before? Did we just, not to put, obviously we have to, there's certain things that need to get addressed. Did we address this time around before we put it forward with our staff and folks? Did we address it with them, or, I know did the union have input on this, or did we?
The input that I got was concern, some were unrelated to the calendar at all, I should say that, and some relative to the calendar. There was concern about the professional development days existing before Labor Day, so we moved one on that feedback to the day before the first day of school. And that was really the only shift that we could make. The other feedback was around the 1 hour early release day on Wednesdays. There were some who like and appreciate that approach. And I think for this year, it was really important to have that. But also, there is still an opportunity for that professional learning to happen, and that sits in negotiations right now. But we also want to be mindful of the feedback we heard from families around the burden of that 1 hour early release. So we moved to have a full school day, and that is in that calendar. And that is not adverse to any contractual
Thank you.
language.
Member Magnolia.
If I understand correctly, the half days apply to the entire system, so those are the days in yellow?
Those 9 days, yep.
Thank you.
Those existed in the last contract as well.
Thank you.
So that was my question.
Member Pena.
Sorry, that was my question with, there was a development day before Labor Day that you shifted it?
There were 3 originally, and then the September 6th was just an extended holiday
Yeah.
for staff, for families, and then the first day of school was on the 7th. In the original iteration of the calendar,
Yeah.
based on feedback, that is now a professional development day, the 6th.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Member McNally?
I'd like to move the calendar.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Motion second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Next item is the Lynn Teachers Union Local 1037 requests that a union leave of absence be granted to the union president for the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes.
Sorry for the delay. I was just something was in my eye. So.
All right, Member Pena, any votes taken in the athletic subcommittee?
Yes.
Please let us know what the vote.
We voted yes to
Okay.
accept the proposal from,
Terrific. And move to the full committee.
yes,
Is there
sir.
a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Member Gately, any votes taken in the building and grounds subcommittee?
A motion was made to move the Eastern Bank space at 112 Market Street to the full committee for discussion.
Great. Any second?
Second?
Discussion?
I just want to.
Member Castellanos?
I just want to just reiterate the high need for pre-K and the space that was acquired. I think it's very, the need is so high, and that's something that I think my constituents over the years have always expressed themselves around, especially for that pre-K. I just would like to just make sure that that we do check out the safety features that were discussed tonight, the concerns. That's very important to check that. I know Mr. Donovan did talk about, him being familiar with the bottoms, that other space, but just to make sure that we go in again to rep that out.
Yeah.
He did mention his own experience, but he also validated the skills and experience of the ISD rep who went with us to visit the space, and he had no concerns. But on that recommendation, I am happy to go back with the owner of the building, with ISD, to take another walk.
Sorry, I'm not done yet.
Yeah, Mr. McHugh just want to answer that question as well, if that's all right.
Also, before we move in, you have to get an occupancy permit, which means the inspectors have to go in and prove that it meets all the codes too. So that'll be done after the build-out's done.
That was actually going to be my little also vignette to that, because I was like, usually you have to have the firefighters come in with the inspectional services. They go in and go through that process. Could we just make sure that we get that information to us as soon as that happens? So it would probably be over the summertime. So it'd be good to kind of have that, and maybe I'll leave it at that.
Member Magnolia?
Not to be a jerk, but the motion on the floor is to move it to the whole committee. We can't talk about it until it's been moved to the whole committee. That's the motion, not to talk about it, but to move it to the whole committee, and then we get to talk about it. That was the motion that was made.
Yeah, we can vote on that motion.
And then we can talk about it, because it's not in the whole committee yet.
Yeah, that's fine. So, motion was made and seconded to move it to the full committee.
Second.
But we didn't vote.
It was made and seconded.
Yeah.
It just wasn't
Member
voted on.
Castellanos?
Roll call.
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So is there a motion to approve? Yeah. Member Capola?
Okay, I just, for clarification, the children that are going up there are all on ed plans, is my understanding, because I know, maybe for Mr. Castellanos, we hear it all the time from people in the community, how they are really looking for preschool, for their children. But this is not open to that. This is for
Correct.
children who already have ed plans.
That's
And I you know, I know we really, really need space, and we especially have to fill, if a child has an ed plan, we have to put them someplace, but I'm still not comfortable with the third floor for 3- and 4-year-old kids.
What's the will of the committee? Yeah, Member Castellanos.
Could we always revisit this too? I think, Dr. Tutwiler, would it be possible to revisit the plan, like the implementation, how we use that space? Is that something that you're willing to report back onto us as in terms of just-
Absolutely.
if it's something that we do find out it becomes an issue, or if it's on, well, I think after, we're gonna have to get it approved anyway, it's gonna be.
I mean, that's your stamp of approval, but I'd recommend or invite members to come visit the space once the build-out is done, and we'll be happy to provide you whatever documentation from the inspectors you might need.
Member Capola, then Member Dugan.
Okay, just one concern with that is in the agreement, it said that we could back out of it each year if we had a problem with federal or state funding. So it doesn't really say if we have a problem with the facility itself. Let's say it becomes a problem for 3- and 4-year-old kids in that space. That's all I'm saying to you.
And maybe I misunderstood your question. I thought the question was around how that space was used. If it was, I mean, we would still be in an agreement. Maybe it becomes office space for related service providers. Maybe it becomes a language testing space. Maybe it becomes something different if the committee feels uncomfortable. That's what I understood that question to be.
Yeah, that
just
was
to be
my,
clear.
yeah. So there's just that flexibility if it does come.
Member Dugan.
Yeah, I just want to validate the concerns of, having children on IEPs that are 3 and 4 years old going to the third floor. But I also feel comfortable with Mr. Donovan's assessment of the situation. My only other question would be, because it is part of Lynn Public Schools, would the children partake in drills with the fire department, or is that something just in case,
That's a requirement across all of
Okay, so that
our-
would be,
right,
all right.
Yeah.
All right, that was my only concern, but other than that, thank you.
Member Magnolia.
I'd like to move that we accept this lease agreement. Do I need to spell out what is in the lease agreement? For 112 Market Street?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Second it?
Motion made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
No.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you. Would entertain a motion to amend the agenda to move communications and information ahead of the request for executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll, all in favor?
Aye.
Superintendent's report.
There's a copy in your packet. In the fall of 2021, we received direct feedback via email and through public comment at a number of school committee meetings involving concerns about the quality and freshness of meals served in our schools, particularly at the elementary level. In response, we engaged a full review of our quality control processes, retrained staff, and created an accessible online feedback form to allow us to formally document and expeditiously respond to any concern. Further, we held 2 forums, one in early November and one in mid-February, to allow members of our community to share their experience and any related concerns. At its November 18th meeting, the school committee directed the city solicitor to do a full review of contracts of the food service purveyor and the food service management company to determine whether or not there's been any breach or dereliction of duty. That investigation is complete, and there is a finding of no breach of contract or dereliction on the part of either partner. While the finding indicates no fault by our partners, we will continue to solicit feedback from students about likes, dislikes, and choice. We will continue to embrace ideas from students and families on how the meals can meet the needs of our students. This is an ongoing process that will continue in perpetuity. Continuing with the theme of feedback response, We are in the early beginnings of conversations about how to expand after-school programming, particularly in the K-8 space. Going as far back as 2019 with the development of the district's strategic plan, families and community members indicated a need to provide more opportunities for access to after-school programs for our youngest learners. The intensity of those calls increased related to how we respond to the impact of the pandemic. The district has a long-standing history of providing after-school programs, both enrichment and academic intervention, and pure engagement and fun. As we continue to build on and expand services for students, after-school programming that marries all of those important elements in a robust, data-driven, and partnered effort feels like an important next step. Something as extensive as this requires deep thought and careful planning. We'd like for this plan to be rich and impactful, but also sustainable. As such, we'll need time to put this together, and there might be specific staffing that does not currently exist, and we will need to explore that. We will do so in partnered fashion over the summer and fall months. The point here is to indicate that we intend to respond to the community feedback with something we believe will be of great benefit to all students. Finally, the district was informed by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education that it will receive additional funding. The FY22 General Appropriation Act is providing funding for districts with, quote, pandemic-related disruptions in their enrollment that impacted their Chapter 70 aid for FY22. Districts are able to receive priority funding if enrollment declined from FY21 to FY22, followed by significant enrollment increases from 22 to 23, which is established in the October 2021 count. That's a lot of numbers, but I got through it. Using these criteria and an applied funding formula, LPS will receive a one-time payment in the amount of $3.9 million. The funds must be spent by the close of FY23 and can be used for non-net school spending expenditures. A proposal will be brought forth to the school committee on or before our last meeting of the year.
Member Gately, Member Pena.
So I'm hearing that number. I'm wondering if we could use that for after-school programs.
You can use it pretty much for anything.
Okay.
Yes, to your question.
Member Pena.
Thank you, Dr. Tutwiler, for your report. I just want to touch on the after-school program. So you're going to have kind of like a community input to get where it's best, because I like to see a good equitable approach on this, because there are a lot of nonprofits that do provide these services for our kids, after school. And it'd be great to see, I know you already partnership with, like the Y and stuff, but to find a good equitable approach and to find, what works for everyone, and that'll be great, because like I said, there's a lot of nonprofits that already do things like this, and we need to be very equitable about how we approach this and to be fair to everybody, because there's a lot of nonprofits that have already been doing this, and we need to be mindful of that, because that some people, some of them stepped up during the pandemic when these kids needed it, and it's time to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just respond briefly. I so appreciate that, and I consider those partners more like family. We worked closely with one another throughout the pandemic, and with the Lynn Ed District, we stay in close contact, and I've shared this idea with them and responded to the concern that this will impact, their space, right? Which I completely respect. So I see this as not being, first of all, grades 6 to 8. We're talking, more than 6,000 students, and there's enough students to sort of go around, so to speak. But also, this should be a community effort. And so that's part of the thinking how we can connect the dots between what we provide, what they provide. This is not we want to draw students from existing programs that are established and do incredible work with students and families. So I appreciate you raising that, because it's an opportunity to convey that we are extra mindful about that.
Absolutely. It'd be great to, get some input and be, kind of like complement other programs and see where we can.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Member Magnolia.
Thank you for the report, Superintendent. I wanted to talk a little bit about the food, because having a child in the schools, my daughter actually experienced this. And one of the things that became really clear is that the staff now knows exactly what to do. But what she said to me, I wanted to pass this feedback on. What she said is, Mommy, if I didn't know what to look for, I might have missed it. And so the one piece that I see missing here is some talk with the students. Okay, so the times it's happened with the cold lunches. And it's just, like something that would be easy to overlook, but because she is my child and she knows all of this stuff, right? She knows what to look for. So it might be worthwhile in elementary school classrooms to just have a little bit of, hey, if you're getting the cold lunches, make sure you look at your food before you eat it. And I think something like that, especially because, a lot of students it's their only time to talk to their classmates. My daughter happens to be at a school where there's no cafeteria, so they're in the classrooms, and they might not be paying attention. And I wouldn't want a child to have ingested something that was maybe not 100% perfect because they weren't paying attention to what they were eating. So I want to commend the staff. They did an excellent job, but I think that her point is actually a really good one, so props to the 9-year-old.
I'll echo the props. That feedback is really helpful. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Superintendent. Next item would be the request for the executive session, if someone would like to read those.
Make a motion to a request for executive session to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining relative to Lynn Teachers Union. The discussion of these matters, which involve strategy in an open meeting, may have a detrimental effect on and compromise the bargaining position of the public body.
As well as the approve the executive session minutes.
Oh, as well as approve the executive session minutes from May 9th, 2022, school committee meeting.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. Thank you.
That was like totally selfish. Read our faces for what?
I guess we don't need to wait for him. We don't need to wait. We'd entertain a motion to return to regular session.
So moved?
Second. Motion to move back to.
Yep, got it. Made it
From
second.
executive session.
Member Castellanos?
Yes.
Member Capola?
Yes.
Member Dugan?
Yes.
Member Gately?
Yes.
Member Magnolia?
Yes.
Member Pena?
Yes.
Mayor Nicholson?
Yes. There were no votes taken in executive session, and that was the last time on the agenda.
I'd like to move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
So when he says it.